Hello, and thank you for watching my very first video in my new series, where I interview amazing actors and actresses to get their very best advice and learn more about them and their experiences in the business we call show. I'm getting started with one of my favorite people. We first met at TAPS camp last summer. He even ran back into the dance room to help me find my Stanley that was new, so I wouldn't be lost forever. Mm-hmm. What a guy. But I had already heard of him before the camp from a couple of friends who told me how amazing he is. Then I got to see him in Guys and Dolls last summer with Summer Stock Austin, and he was amazing. So good. After that, I got to know him a little better the past fall when we were both cast in A Christmas Carol at Zach Scott Theater, which was a blast. I'm currently blessed to be getting to learn dance with him, which is super exciting. So please help me say hello to Noah Wood. Woo!
And star.
Hi, Noah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You are one of my favorite people I've met through acting, and I'm so excited to spend a little time learning more about you. I really appreciate you giving me this interview.
Thank you, Kolbie.
Okay, so to get started, will you tell me a little basic info about yourself? Really just anything you want to tell me to get us started.
Okay, so I am Noah Wood, if you cannot tell. I grew up in a place called Nacogdoches, Texas. It's a little college town where Stephen F. Austin is in East Texas. I was born in Houston, and we moved out there. I stayed there for a good chunk of my childhood, and then I moved to the greater Austin area, where I went to middle school here, and I went to high school here, and I fell in love with musical theater and with dance and performing at, I was 14 when I started musicals, but I was dancing since I was 11 or 12.
Wow.
Yeah, from 11 to 13. So it's been 11 years now. Yup. Long time to be dancing. But yeah, that's me. I have 3 little sisters, Lexi, Isabel, and Leah. They are the greatest people in the world, and I would die for them. And then I have my mom and my dad, Melissa and Cedric, and my 2 dogs, Lincoln and Luna. We have 2 cats, Draco and Loki. Oh, I almost forgot that.
Draco, oh, that's
Draco,
hilarious.
like Draco Malfoy.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much.
Wait, you have a video?
I had a huge crush on Draco Malfoy.
Oh my goodness.
And so we
Him
had
and
this
his blonde
entire
haircut.
Yes. And so we had this video of like my impressions of him and and I was super little. It's really cute, but it's a little embarrassing.
He's like, "You're a loser, Harry.
Yeah.
You're rump."
Yes. Sorry.
No, that's really funny, actually. I can't believe you had a little crush on Draco Malfoy.
Yeah,
isn't that awesome?
My brother would always tease me, and I was like,
Yeah,
so annoying.
definitely.
So, like you said, dancing came first.
Mm-hmm.
But did singing or acting come second?
Ooh, that is a really good question. Let me think back into my mind vault. I think it started with acting, because in the 7th grade at Decker Middle School, I took a theater class that was like an extracurricular, and we did a bunch of like little scenes and plays, and I always thought dance was super fun. So I was a big fan. I was a weird kid, but I was a really big fan of this little game called Five Nights at Freddy's, and there was this song that they used to have that I did like some sort of dance piece / acting with a scene thing. I really hope there's not a video out there and someone who might be seeing this, all of a sudden like drop something in the comments and they're like, actually, boom, I have this right here of you in 7th grade. But oh my gosh, wouldn't that be amazing though? But yeah, I definitely, it started with dance, and I did competition dance for 2 years, 2.5 years-ish, at 2 different companies. One of them, I work at their sister studio, which is super awesome. And another one was out by my middle school in the Austin area. It was super awesome. But yeah, dancing, acting, singing. I'm not a singer like that.
You're a singer, no?
I don't but yeah.
Okay, I just have to use Guys and Dolls for an example. Like, you cannot say you are
One
not a
song
singer.
where I sang. Everything else was dancing and acting. Boom.
Still, but the song he sang, oh my goodness, like, I was windblown. It was great. You did
Thank
amazing.
you. I really appreciate that.
Is there any other training that you haven't mentioned that you had over time?
Well, like I said, I danced in 2 companies. I did some stuff in middle school. Definitely kept up with all 3 of the aspects in high school. I was in choir and I was in theater. Eventually, by senior year, I was president of my like International Thespian Society type thing at high school, which was super fun. And then dancing just never stopped. I was always dancing, whether in classes or with Zach Theater's pre-professional company. I was with them for 2 years, which was super, super awesome. I was getting dance in like a show choir kind of way from our choir as well, and from the musicals that we did in high school, which was super cool. And also I did Impact Arts' Select Ensemble and Summer Stock Austin, which shout out to all of them and PPC for helping train me up, because without them, I don't think I would be half the performer that I am now, without all of them. Yeah, so I did all of those programs, and I was out from 8 a.m. in the morning at school to 11 o'clock at night, getting home, doing all the rehearsals. And, you know, you sacrifice a lot of time, but it's worth it in the end for both ability and community, you know, that you're able to have now. It's pretty cool. That's how I met this one.
Yeah, so I'm very, very, very thankful that you were there too, and I wouldn't have you, so I was like, yes. I'm guessing dancing is your favorite. Yes, dancing.
Yeah. No questions asked.
So
We'll cut it there. Dancing's your favorite. Beep.
You said acting came first, and you said you're not much of a singer, but you definitely are.
Yeah.
So is it acting like as a favorite, second too, and then singing?
Yeah, I think my favorite is definitely dance at the top, acting next, and then singing last. Now, mind you, in the shower, singing becomes my favorite.
Oh my goodness, I felt the Defy Gravity note every time I
it high, high. What is it?
Yes! And I'm like, and my parents can hear me from downstairs.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure it's great though.
Yeah, I loved it.
My brother really loves it.
Yeah.
He's like, that's funny.
Yeah. Oh, he hates it, but he annoys me too, so he deserves it.
I was about to say, what can a brother do?
All fair.
Yeah. Who has been your biggest influence on your journey? Yeah, I'll give you a minute to think about this one.
There's a couple major influences. I started dancing originally because of Michael Jackson. Crazy enough. I had I tell this story so often. I had a red CD that had Michael Jackson's, I think it was like his top 10 or top 20 greatest hits at the time, all in music video form on a DVD, and I used to play it in our living room back in Nacogdoches, where I lived when I was younger, and would dance to those music videos. So I was out there doing like Thriller and like, you know, all the things.
Yes.
And I was like, Mom, I don't have anything, because crazy enough, I did sports as a kid, and I was like, no. And then we tried Taekwondo for a little bit, which was fun, but then when we moved to Austin, I didn't quite fit right with the dojo that I transitioned to in Austin as opposed to back in Nacogdoches. And so I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore, Mom. And she said, well, do you maybe want to try some dance classes since you dance all the time in the living room? And I said, that's for girls. But I sucked it up and I went to a couple classes, and as soon as I got there, everyone was so welcoming, and the people at the dance studio at the time, Dance and Jazzy, they were just, you know, in love with me, and I was in love with them, and I fell in love with dance, and it was a done deal from there. Yeah. I hope that answered the question.
It did. No,
okay,
it definitely
yeah.
did. That's amazing. I love that story. That's like this is all inspiring me and everything. You know, just to get deeper. And so this is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are your parents supportive of, you know, being a profession in acting and singing, dancing, or were they like, I want you to do something else.
Yeah, my parents, we're all Texans, so we definitely look at theater and we go, what in the world is that? You know? but it really was the case of, at first I was a pretty good A/B student in high school, mostly A's, a couple B's for like my particularly difficult classes, and then junior-ish year, I was like, man, I really kind of think I could do this. I don't know how I could make a career out of it. It wasn't exactly the like, mother, I want to go to Broadway kind of thing. But it was definitely the case of, I would love to sing and dance and, maybe be in a dance company or perform in some way full time. Mm-hmm. And my parents were like, but you're studying engineering and computer science right now. So money or not. And that was the choice. That was very much the choice. And I think that still today, there are definitely a good chunk of people in the world who are both parents or the kids that feel that sort of pressure as a choice to make. And it's just like, it took a lot of my mentors at the time, my high school director, DeMitchell, and Ginger Morris at Impact Arts, and Josh and Jen at PPC. It took their collective talking to my parents, telling them that I was good enough to be doing this professionally for them to finally, come around. And then eventually, because of the training that they were putting me in, I was actually getting better. So I had the shows to like kind of show the receipts to them and be like, hey, Mom, like, this is a pretty good show, wasn't it? And them being like, yeah, actually, it was pretty all right. It was pretty all right. And eventually, the quality of work got better and better, and the consistency of work got more and more. And now, this is about to be my first whole year post-graduation in Chicago. And I've worked, 5 going on 6 and 7 with a bunch of other like master classes and dance classes that I teach now on the weekly and all the things, and private lessons with Kolbie. She's getting much better. They were definitely adverse, at first, but the truth of it is that I always tell myself hard work and time can make anything happen, right? So all you have to do is be consistent, and everybody else around you will eventually come too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what is your proudest professional moment?
Proudest professional moment? Well, recently I've started teaching at this place called the Adderley School in LA, where I've been teaching, I'm not allowed to disclose who, but actually I don't think it's that deep. But I have been teaching like celebrity students and children of people who are, in the business, in the entertainment business, doing a lot of those things. So if we're talking my 9 to 5, that is very much something where I'm like, wow, I'm making good money to teach really, notorious families or notorious people's children. And I feel very proud to be trusted with the ability to teach them anything. Because, you think like celebrities, they're in a whole nother world and they're the untouchables, right? But they're really just other people at the end of the day. And I don't know, every single show that I do, I try to put my everything into it. And I feel like every time I do a show, I get just that little bit better. And so it's just like, from all the way back to my first play in middle school to high school when I was doing like Big Fish and Damn Yankees and shows like and Bonnie and Clyde and all those things, to in college when I was doing 42nd Street. I mean, all of those feel like professional, highlights, and then you just move on to the next thing. It's just right. Wizard of Oz was very fun to do, especially In the Heights was very fun, especially to do. And most recently, I'm choreographing and performing in my first ever solo choreo musical project, which is Grand Hotel at the Alchemy Theater at the Wisenhunt at Zach. And that is my baby. So I'm feeling real good about that one right now.
Yes, that's awesome. How do you keep your performances fresh when you have to do it 6-7 times a week?
It's tough because sometimes you do go into work and you go, man, I have to sing these same 4 songs again. But I think what makes anything bearable is the people, It's the same thing as people who are in corporate jobs. You go in and you do objectively the same thing every day, but it's the interactions that you have with people, the community that you build, the coworkers that become your friends, you know, the coworkers who become, you know, your like significant others, and people that meet doing shows and fall in love and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's just, I think with any job, including arts, especially because it's such a community-based thing and an artistic expression, it's the people that makes all of that bearable, on top of loving what you do. You know, anybody who's passionate about anything could do it forever, and it'll never get boring, right? And I love theater, so it'll never get boring.
Did you ever consider giving up on performing?
I definitely have my days, honestly. I do. As anybody I'm sure does with any other job. There are times where I go, would I prefer to go work somewhere that's like, because this is also some fun information about me. When I was making ends meet in college, I used to work at this place in Chicago where I went to school. I used to be a host at a restaurant. And honestly, because I love interacting with people and because I'm a social person, doing something like hosting was really fun. And it was just like, meet a new person, say hi, meet a new person, say hi. And so I have wondered about like, man, what if I just like stopped all of this and went back to doing that on the daily and just kept it there? But, you know, as much as everybody loves the idea of consistency, one of my mantras in life it's always been live life passionately. And so if I'm not as passionate at something as I am at another thing, why go for the second best option, right? That's why I do theater.
Awesome. What's your favorite show or role you've ever performed?
Favorite role has to be, not a lot of people know about this one, but I did an original show written by a guy named J. Quinton Johnson, who's currently on Broadway in Hamilton right now. And he wrote a show called Alice's Wonderland. It is a video game take on the Alice in Wonderland general story and that trope of Alice in Wonderland. And I played the Mad Hatter in that.
Oh my goodness.
And that was the most fun I've ever had playing a character before, because in real life, I'm very zany. If we want to be nice with me, I'm a weird guy. I'm just a weird guy.
No, you're not.
All the time.
You're fun.
I'm fun.
Thanks,
fun. Kolbie. He's fun. But I used to do a lot of like, I've always been, really explosive in my expression and stuff like that. And with that, being able to play a character like Mad Hatter was just me playing myself for 40 minutes of a show, which was super, super amazing. And getting to collaborate with a Broadway actor who was originating a show, that's like his baby. So he puts his all into that and wants it to be extremely amazing, as opposed to like someone who maybe has done a show 100 million times, and like in the commercial world, it can kind of feel not lifeless. Lifeless isn't the right word, but for people who kind of, try to make the status quo happen a lot with things in doing shows, it can be like, okay, and here's another show, and here's the blocking, and here's the actors, and we're just fitting the bill. But because it was an original work of his, he tried to curate something really special out of that. And because of that, through his teaching and mentoring and directing and music directing of the show, I really grew. I really, really grew and became much more passionate about this in general, all of this from that. So yeah, Alice's Wonderland, Mad Hatter, boom.
Boom. What's your dream show or role?
Dream show, man, I always tell people, I have two. Orpheus in Hadestown and Lawrence/Philip in Hamilton would be two roles that I haven't played before that I really want to do. I just love Hamilton. I love Hamilton and I love Hadestown, and they both have really important stories to tell. And I mean, I have everyone has their playlist of musicals, and there's definitely the characters in each show that you would pick out and be like, I want to play this one and this one and this one. But those two are like, those are on the list for sure. Towards the top.
Yeah.
What about you, Kolbie? What's your dream role?
Well, my dream role is to be Glinda in Wicked on Broadway.
Glinda! Wow. That would be so amazing for you.
I've always, ever since I saw it first when I was 8, I wanted to be her.
You're
So.
like, I have to be in that now.
Yes, I
Yep.
know, and I just love that show.
You could be the youngest Glinda ever on Broadway.
Maybe, yeah, it was like, but yeah, I don't know. Just something about it. I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Get ready for the headlines, everybody. Child star Kolbie plays Glinda on Broadway in Wicked. Coming to your door.
Where did you go to college, and like, what was your degree in?
So I went to Roosevelt University. Chicago College of Performing Arts is the long form answer. The conservatory within Roosevelt University, and I studied musical theater with a emphasis in dance, but I like to say it was a minor in dance because credits wise I was taking enough dance classes for it basically to be one. And that was in Chicago. It was super fun. 4 full years. I was dancing every day from 9 to 12 sometimes. Yeah, and was consistently dancing and then taking acting and singing classes at the end of my days, and then having rehearsals at night until 10 or 10:30, and never stopping and working at the same time. And like I said, being consistent. Haha. And I passed somehow. Because by senior year I did get a little lax with my homework. Don't do that, kids. Do your homework, please. You don't want to have a scare like me. I was worried if I didn't pass one. This is honest truth. Sorry, Mom and Dad. I was worried at first about this one class that I was taking because you focus so much in a conservatory for theater or for the arts. You focus so much on your craft that it becomes really hard to do your essays on the side and to, feel like you have time to do homework that's like not the homework of theater, as in learning your songs or learning your lines. All of that was easy to do, but for your what felt like extracurricular but we called core classes, which are your English and your math and all that kind of stuff, stinky math. I used to love math, so you're stinky for saying math is stinky, but
it depends on the day for me.
Yeah, that's true. It depends on the algebra problem. But yeah, that's where I went, and that's how it went, and I passed, and it was awesome. And then I came here back to home because I wanted to be with my family. And now I've built my repertoire and done a lot of work with a lot of people, and now I feel ready to spread my wings and go to LA.
That's amazing. What do you recommend in getting a degree for?
It's a 2-part answer. I could say yes because, and here's why. I could say yes because the thing that is the hardest for people in the entertainment world to do, unless you are an extremely, extremely dedicated person, which is not rare, but in the world that we live in, it's easy to, I can chill out for a little bit. This is nice. I'll take a break. I'll sit on the couch, all that kind of stuff. The easiest reason that it's a yes for college and getting your degree in musical theater is because they have everything set up for you to take your classes and for you to have consistent training for up to 4 years, or even more if you get a master's degree or a PhD in, some sort of theatrical studies, right? If you are the kind of person that very much needs to pay the money to be able to have somebody put all that together, be around professionals that have also done it, that can give you really good advice, that's great. The alternative is, unless you're somebody who is born into like a famous, family who knows all the right connections, the extra work instead of paying extra money, if you don't want to go to college, you put in extra work to find the right people in your city and your area to connect with, to be good mentors and good teachers for you, and you yourself, not with the pressure of how much you're having to pay to go to class, but you yourself have to give yourself the gumption to consistently go to different classes on the same level, time commitment wise, that college would. As much as either one could benefit one person or the other, it really is personal preference at the end of the day. So I did it because I needed that. I need consistency in my life, and I like having a structure, and I like when mentors are around me to be like, hey, this is something that you need to be taken care of. This is something to know about the business, all this kind of stuff. Golden nuggets that you could either find if you wanted to, from taking classes adjunctly on your own, finding the right people, finding the right teachers in your area, finding the right programs while you're in high school to do college auditions and stuff like that. So yeah, it is honestly a double side of the coin, and I don't ever tell people yes or no truthfully for going to college or not. Obviously, it is very important for if somebody looks at a resume and they say, oh, they have a degree in this, boom, great. They must be at least a consistent person who has stuck with the craft and has trained for 4 years to do this. However, if you look on somebody's resume and at the top of it, it says Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway, they're also going to know you're very good, you know? So it really is up to the person. It's based on your experience. It's based on what you need as a person. I recommend college normally because I think that people who are younger, especially high schoolers who are about to go into college, we haven't quite developed, I mean, we all know the science of it, we haven't developed our frontal cortex yet. So having a system to be able to have the teacher-student relationship still there, to have a sort of like guardian or parental unit that's still watching over you to keep you personally in check is extremely helpful, I think, for children, you know, and for teenagers who are just hormonal and crazy.
Yeah. What's your best advice for a young actor who's just starting out?
Keep up the hard work. There's going to be a lot of people who, man, there's so many things. Yeah, consistency is key. Yeah, make sure that you're showing up to your classes and showing up for the things that you've committed to. I have kids in some classes that I teach that are like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this show, and then we'll be at like half the rehearsals, and then they don't know it. And I'm like, well, you weren't here. What am I supposed to do? But consistency is very much key. I think there's a book about putting in 10,000 or so hours into whatever craft you want to master. That's like one of the ways to easily be able to master something. And with that, if you just keep showing up to your dance classes, if you keep showing up to your acting classes, if you keep going to your programs, your college audition programs, even to school, which is kind of a hard thing for some kids to do nowadays, you know. There's a whole epidemic of kids not wanting to go to school because they can do everything on the devices, right? Yeah. So consistency is the most important thing for being able to thrive within this and getting your practice in. Also, doing what's best for yourself. And I know that sounds a little cliche, but like sometimes you will meet certain people that will ask things of you that you just simply know that you won't be able to do. And this was a little bit of an issue with me at first, post-graduation. There were a lot of people that wanted me to do this and 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 this, and I said yes to everything, and then ended up feeling really burnt out. And by the time that I got to springtime of this year, I was contemplating my life. I was like, what am I doing? Like, am I going to be able to make all of this happen? Is any of this like worth it? All that kind of stuff, you know, which is definitely just like, you know, the inner demons keep trying to get to you. But apart from that, it all started with me not being calculated about the things that I knew I was capable of and the things that I knew would either push me or break me. Yeah. Some things will push you to grow. Some things will leave you worse off than you were at the start, right? Yeah. So just being careful about not doing too much, but still being consistent, you know, even just one class a week, even just one private lesson a week, and you start to improve because you stay consistent with it, you know? And we've seen Kolbie over the 2 months, month or 2 months that we've been doing these lessons now, and her turns are already a mile better because she's staying consistent and because she's practicing at home and she's doing her research and, you know, so just like making sure to be consistent but not to break yourself for the sake of like a quick fix and trying to be the best immediately. It takes time, hard work and time.
Love it. Do you recommend having an agent or a manager?
I definitely know the benefits of both. A agent is somebody who is going to be able to show you jobs and to get you in the room with auditions. If you're represented by an agent, then you automatically get to go into certain rooms for auditions that some people can't. That plays into a whole plethora of things. And then on the manager side, there is simply, it's a person who knows your vision as an artist of what you want to be doing, and rather than just sending you everything that fits your archetype, which is most likely what an agent does, a manager says, okay, this person has these kind of goals. How do we help them based on the schedule that they have, building your schedule for you, getting all of your P's and Q's of like your resume and your headshot and all that kind of stuff in order, managing your artistic career as opposed to helping curate jobs that you have. So an agent is more strictly like, here's the job, send in your tape, boom. Manager is like, okay, you have this job, how do we work around your contract? How do we work around all that kind of stuff? How do we da-da-da-da-da-da-da, helping you stay on the artistic path that you want to be going on. I have a manager. He's amazing. He has helped me get work, and he's somebody who's very understanding, because a manager, sure, it's a professional relationship, but I feel more akin to be able to be personal with a manager because they know a little bit more about your life than an agent does. And at the end of the day, I definitely would recommend both. I mean, if you can get representation, like I said, you automatically get into the room for certain auditions more than you would without one, which is just the truth of the business. So yeah, if you need, again, same thing as like with going to college, if you need somebody to give you that structure, manager is a really good way to go. Both a manager and an agent can happen at the same time. Now, sometimes they will a little bit with, what you want versus what they want for you versus what they know you want for yourself versus what they're throwing jobs out you wise, all those things. But they're both very important, and especially for if people get to a certain level, you kind of need both, because then it's too much for you yourself to juggle not only performing, but doing, public events and all the training and all that stuff, doing all of that on top of having to manage your schedule and, get all those things together. That takes like a superstar to try and do completely solo. I really doubt there's any celebrity out there in A-list Hollywood that's doing any of this completely solo. They have the publicist, they have the manager, they have the agent, they have the representation, they have all that stuff. And it's really just people that are able to help you manager-wise structure everything for yourself, and agent-wise have consistent auditions ready. So yeah, I recommend both. There's no harm in having either of them, and it definitely helps to get you ahead of the game if you have either of them.
Now for the funniest question.
Okay. Oh no.
If you have a funny blooper, or if you have many, would you like any funny bloopers on stage if you want to tell us?
I won't say the words that I said, but one time, this was fresh in my musical theater career. I'd been doing acting for a little bit already. I'd been dancing for 2 years. But in high school, my first ever musical that I did was Big Fish. And I was young Will in that, so I was just a little kid. I mean, I looked like a little kid then too. I still kind of do now, but I looked even younger than I do now. And I got cast in the show, and I've never had worked with microphones before and having them on you. And if you miss your cue to go on stage, nobody knows that you're not going to go on stage. So the techies in the booth, they'll still turn your mic up. And I still can picture it to this day. I was sitting there eating Swedish fish, the little candies, talking to my friends, having a good time in the dressing room, thinking, I've got a while before my next scene comes up. I was wrong. Very, very wrong. I heard the interlude music that was for me to go onto stage during this like kind of dream sequence, and I was not there on stage. And I cursed really, really loudly on my microphone, and the whole audience heard it. The whole audience, because they turned my mic up because I was supposed to be on stage. heard me curse not great things. As a freshman in high school. And it lived on in infamy all 4 of my years. And I never got to live that down. And to this day, you will never catch me backstage talking, especially if I have a mic on. Especially when I'm about to go into a scene. Because you never know. You never know.
Wow. That is a funny blooper.
That is a very funny blooper. Very funny. I was so embarrassed. So embarrassed. But, you know.
I'm wondering, did your parents, like, were they in the audience?
Oh, yeah. I think my mom was out there that day, but my director was also in the booth and goes backstage immediately and is like, why did you do this? If it happens, don't ever let this happen again. But I'm crying and I'm sobbing. And he's like, it's okay, buddy. Just never miss, and repeats what I said on the microphone, never miss your so-and-so again. And I was like...
Sorry.
So yeah, watch out for your mics because they could be hot. And for those who aren't in theater, that means they're on. Yeah. They could be hot. They could be hot, and you never know. Very embarrassing.
That's it's funny.
Yeah.
But it wasn't very funny for you in that moment.
No, it wasn't. Not at all.
No.
It was quite dreadful and embarrassing. And I then ran on... Oh, this is actually even better. I ran onto stage in the middle of the scene after all of my lines would have already been completed and the other actors on stage had already moved on. So I then just went on stage, stood there, and went off. And that was it. And that was my first ever musical, everybody. First ever musical.
Wow. Mm-hmm. How old were you?
14.
Oh, wow.
14.
Oh, sorry. I'm having a moment. This is so funny. Oh, yeah.
So, there you go. You're like, my jaw hurts. My jaw hurts from smiling.
Are you planning to do any traveling shows or, like, stay around in this area?
I plan to move to LA in the following year. So in hopefully the fall time, I'll make a full-time move out to LA. I'll work out there. I'm trying to break into the movie musical scene. I've always had a dream to be like Gene Kelly or like the golden age era of performers in movie musicals. And they film a lot in LA, believe it or not, because that's where Hollywood is, you know? Yeah. So, yeah. So I'd like to go out there and be there for at least a year or two and see what happens. But, you know, there are definitely things that would pull me in another direction, whether it was like a professional show in New York or a national tour or anything like that. But a lot of that, everyone in this business is really, really talented. There are some people who, you know, sure have work to do, but as a general, for everybody is very talented. So a lot of the time, getting into those higher quality shows comes down to chance, connections, and consistency, and showing your face to people consistently. So the more that I send in tapes to, you know, those things that would take me out of the country or across country or things like that, that's inevitable with time. Yeah. However, what I can control is where I have my home base, and I would like that to be in LA next year. So hopefully I get out there and I do a movie or two.
Well, we'll miss you, but I really hope that it works out and that you get something big. Because I believe in you, and I bet you can.
I hope I can.
I know you can.
Oh, thank you. I really think it'll be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a day job?
Yes. My day job is dance teaching. So I teach at a studio, Balance Dance Studios in Austin. I teach hip-hop on Tuesdays at 12. I teach a stretch and strengthening class, which is really just like a deep stretch / meditation kind of class, akin to yoga on Wednesdays. Wow. And then on Thursdays at 11, I teach musical theater jazz. So that's like my day job, plus doing private lessons, plus
which is also on Thursdays.
Plus just like a whole lot of dance teaching, you know, and helping to assistant choreograph different projects every once in a while. But yeah, that's my day job. But I will say, it is fully possible for all of those parents and or kids who have parents that are watching this right now that are very much like, well, I don't know if my child can work consistently. The thing is that if you, one, establish connections with the right people that you know are healthy, happy, good people to be around, that will work consistently with you. And if you just throw self-tapes and auditions out there as much as you can, something will always stick, and you can realistically have something lined up, one back to back to back to back to back to back. So no, I don't technically have a day job, but my day job, at the same time I do, because I've done project a week break, project a week break, project a week break, project a week break, and that becomes inevitably my day job. Rehearsals at nighttime, consistently 4 shows.
Yeah.
That's the actor life.
That also answers the next question.
Oh,
which is the
look at that.
project you were going.
I'm ahead of schedule.
Yes. And then anything else you want to share with me, or anyone that loves musical theater and the arts in general?
Don't give up. Don't give up, because I didn't. Even when I faced adversity from my parents, or adversity from the business, or personal things that happened in life that made me want to go, I don't want to be here or be in this community or be around these people. Consistency. Yeah, and not stopping, because as soon as you stop, all of your work plateaus back down to 0. You just start from the bottom again. And anything that you do in life, whether it's within the context of theater or film or working at a McDonald's or being in the corporate world, you have to start from the bottom and slowly work your way up. And if you give that up, you're right back to the start again, and you'll have to take even longer to become manager at your restaurant, or to be in a Broadway show, or to be in that blockbuster film that you want to be in. No matter what you do, you can't give up on yourself and on the people around you. Yeah.
You're just so amazing, and I just love to hear all the kind of behind the scenes. So this is just awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you again for talking with me today. You are so inspiring, and I hope we get to work together again soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Kolbie.
Yes, of course.
Kolbie talks.
I love how you just think of stuff on the dot. It's just so funny.
Wow, thank you.
Yes. Bye, guys.